Welcome back on this Fiesta Friday to here on the link. Chris, Jason, and Joser running things. Sabrina is taking care of family business, so we wish her the best. But we bring in our good friend, Chef Peter Duenas, who wears many, many hats in addition to his chef's hat, including being the main man at the Micronesia Chefs Association, who have a wonderful event that we're going to tell you about right now. It's Cultural Sustenance, showing how food is an integral part of our island's culture. Food here is a form of communication. It's social currency. It is many, many things. So, Chef, always good to have you, man. It's been a while.
Afade, thank you for having me.
Okay, so, and I interviewed members of Humanities Guahan a couple years ago, Chef, about, they were offering workshops on showing how, like food in this part of the world, specifically for Chamorro culture, there's such a deep meaning to, what food is, what dishes are chosen, the preparation of it, the serving. To a lot of people, they might either overlook that or just think, like it's no big deal. But to us, this is a really, really big part of our culture. So how are you incorporating that into this workshop?
Well, in conjunction with the Humanities Guahan, we received a grant through the CARES Act, and we were able to create a programming that would be educational, cultural, and be right down our alley. And here on Guam, as we all know, food is a major part of our culture, and we celebrate food with every occasion from birth through death. And food is definitely an integral part of our culture. And so for our event, which begins on Tuesday, June 22nd, and a second day on June 23rd, Wednesday, it's going to be up at the Guam Community College multi-purpose auditorium, which is adjacent to the Culinary Academy. And we're going to be featuring various speakers. We have a couple of food scholars, cultural scholars, and they're going to be talking about how, we're going to be discussing and demonstrating some of the more traditional foods of Chamorro cuisine. And then we're going to be moving on to things like information and education on traditional fishing practices, farming, and how farming is a very important part of our culture and our food. And it's going to be a full 2 days. We have several chefs that are going to be demonstrating traditional foods, and myself, I'm going to be doing one on Wednesday too. So again, it's like a 2-day event, and the whole purpose is education and just perpetuating the cultural aspects of our cuisine. And there'll be talk about traditional, and there's going to be talk about modern traditional, is what I like to call it, or post-Spanish. So after the Spaniards came to Guam, our cuisine changed dramatically, and a lot of things were incorporated into our cuisine, which is what we see a lot of today. And that's a very important part as well. And talking about fiestas and how fiestas are a very important part of our culture, and even though it wasn't traditional, it is what we call traditional today.
And I think your voice on these panels is going to be so valued because you were kind of like the first one in a very grand way who brought maybe what we can consider the next evolution of Chamorro cooking to light. And you did the fusion Chamorro cooking where you took your classical training with the traditional techniques, and then you used more contemporary culinary methods and everything. And now that's an approach that several people have done both on Guam and abroad.
Yes. It was 13 years ago, after working 20 years in the industry and cooking all types of other cuisines, French, Italian, Asian, you name it, I pretty much have done it. And, one day when I decided it was time for a new horizon, I thought, why not do our own cuisine, Chamorro cuisine, but, not your typical home comfort food presentations, but more or less like incorporating some of what I've learned along the way through my experience and taking Chamorro food to another level. Mm-hmm. And then Mezcla was born. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and also kind of like, the whole dynamic of food is you take something maybe as simple as maybe tatizas, right? And a lot of people would just think, okay, well, tatizas is tatizas, it's tatizas, and not necessarily, because it's a regional thing, and you can say, well, in a particular part of the island they prefer corn, or with a particular family they only do flour, or even with a historically, or a certain part they can say, no, like our house we only do mana tatizas.
Oh yeah,
and we take that stuff very seriously out here.
Well, every household has their secret family recipe on various things, and tatizas is like a sacred thing.
Yep.
If your household or your family has a secret tatizas recipe, it's because a grandma or a great grandma or great great grandma passed that down, and then that is our culture.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of families have their secret recipes. Like my Uncle Greg puts ketchup in his stafao.
True, and close to your if you don't pass it on, it'll fade, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, our tatizas recipe at Mezcla is like my grandmother's flour tatizas recipe, and I just incorporated some basil and some olives.
Wow.
And made it a little different, right? Mm. So there's so many things to do. Like Denancy is like a household product, and in most families there is a Denancy recipe that's been in the family for years, and and that works for all the other types of specialty items like masizas and astintukun and even kadampika, like a special family recipe of kadampika. And nowadays, the newer generations are getting a little more creative with how they do things as we have progressed into the modern age. There's so many other things that are available to us that wasn't necessarily available to us many years ago. So things like fresh herbs and spices that we weren't accustomed to having, we have nowadays. So it's interesting how you would incorporate some of those things into something that's traditional, and it may be perceived as a non-traditional or non-classical style, but when people eat it, they say, "Oh man, that's delicious."
Yeah, chef. Chef, I got to give you props because you don't I know you say you wanted to bring it to a whole new level, but you keep definitely always one Zori in the traditional way, so you can go to Mezcla and you can get some from Chef Pete, and it might be a deconstructed Tanactag or whatever, but then you can also get the Tanala Chutney, which is so traditional, right? And then you talk about, go ahead.
I know. I think that's a funny phrase, keeping one Zori in it, but truly, that has always been my philosophy. I guess in my generation, I'm getting up there in age, so in my generation, I was still in that part of the Chamorro culture where a lot of things were being done in a more traditional way. And I was privileged enough to experience that in my childhood, and knowing the deep rooted foundation of some of our dishes has helped pave the way for me to utilize my my professional experience and knowledge and be able to build on that. Whereas, if you, let's just say you didn't have a general uh, idea of what real gole hogensuni is, right?
Yeah.
And then you just one day decide, oh, I'm going to try making gole hogensuni, right? And then you make it, you follow someone else's recipe, and then you kind of make it your own. Um, it'll probably be very different. Whereas, when I was young, it was waiting in the mud in the taro patch to pick only the nice looking taro leaves for grandma, or else I was going to get in trouble if I didn't pick the nice leaves.
Right.
And then knowing what to do with those leaves prior to making the gole hagansuni, and then getting harvesting the mango, the turmeric ginger, and then having to grade that where all your fingers turn yellow and orange, and then the elders get mad at you and say you're supposed to put salad oil on your fingers before you touch that.
Wow. Yeah. Salad oil.
You know what I mean?
Right?
I mean, it's just knowing the foundation of certain things before you can experiment with it, and that is, I guess that is one of the things I cherish the most, is that I was privileged to experience that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and even like digging up dogu and taro and processing it, those kind of things were like very uh, very deeply planted in my
Literally.
memory banks. And so, it's like it's kind of like second nature after a while, right? So again, like our kids today, I mean, they don't know a whole lot about our culture, let alone the cultural food. They just know how to eat it.
Well, somebody's
So,
got to eat it.
And that
well,
is probably going to be the theme of the lessons that are going to be passed down at this event.
Come and eat.
So we've been doing like the Zoom thing, Chef, for a year and a half now, and everything like that. And with a event like this, when you're doing demonstrations and everything like that, being in the same room, being able to smell, the ingredients fresh and everything, and being able to
Yeah.
interact and breathe the same air as the masters who are preparing them is probably key. So how are you structuring this whole thing at GCC?
well, so we're maxing our capacity at 50, and by the way, there's still seats available, and we have some information we can pass down. Well, it's on our flyers that are going around right now. And
We got them
you
up
can
on
contact.
up on screen right now, Chef.
Yes, if you want to attend both days, or even one or the other day, that's fine. You just have to contact Chef Paul Kerner, and he is the one setting up the arrangements. But it will be classroom style setup. We'll have a cooking demo table. There'll be demonstrations, but unfortunately, due to the whole COVID guidelines and the restrictions, that there'll be no sampling at this event.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
This interview is over. This interview is over.
Chris
As
just
much
said
as
quick.
I hate to say it, but I'm just being upfront and honest.
Yeah, no, that's
and,
good.
You know, I don't want attendees to go there with the expectation of tasting some of the foods where,
Right.
you know, we're technically we're not allowed to let.
Well, that's
taste it.
absolutely fair about food and Chamorro culture and everything like that, is because it means so much to our people. You have to earn it. It's one thing to say
Exactly.
someone would be hospitable or generous and just make you a plate, or invite you into their home and and break bread with you. It's another thing to say, okay, well, you did a service for me. You helped out in the village. You came and prayed the rosary when my family needed it and everything like that. Here's some food in return, and that's a very deep meaning that people have to understand.
Yeah, it's going to be like the Fiesta, Chef, because the real action is going to be happening in the back.
Exactly. I like that, and that's true. In most fiestas, the back kitchen is where it's at.
That's where the turtle is. All right. Yeah, Chef, thank you. Man, I really appreciate how you talk about the traditional stuff with such great respect, right, and reverence, and then knowing that, like I said, you got that 1 foot there, but then you serve up dishes that everybody loves. On my end, my family still hasn't forgiven me for putting Thai basil in the cut pica, so I thought it went well.
See, now Chef Pete can use the fusion part. You've got a little
I'm
ways to go.
confusion.
Well, the funny thing in my family was many years ago, I tried putting lemongrass and sesame oil in my cut pica, and my family looked at me very weirdly, and then when they finally ate it, they said, "Wow, this is pretty good."
Right? Yeah.
So every now and then they would ask me to make it again.
Well, there you go. Now we know how to level up our cut pica, guys. Free tips.
Well, actually, Chef, on a business level, before we let you go, I mean, we've always been such big fans of yours and supporters of your various businesses and everything like that. How are things at the various restaurants that you're operating and everything? What's the foot traffic been like? How busy are you guys?
Because I see here, Chef, on your flyer, it says that you're also going to be discussing the impacts of the pandemic on the food service industry, right?
Absolutely. That's going to be a portion, which is always the bummer discussion nowadays. But pertaining to Mezcla, our outlets, I mean, we're very grateful and very appreciative of the local community. They've been a great, tremendous support. We see a lot of people these days coming in and out of the restaurant, and we are so thankful and blessed to have a community where, even though we're having a major pandemic, people are like, dude, we got to eat. We got to get our Tanala Chutney. So.
And conversely, the service that you provided for the community got so many people, I'm quite through some very, very tough times, because they were like, if I could just have a good, home cooked meal on the kind of food that I enjoy and everything, that would really help.
It was interesting when my wife and I went to eat out for the very first time after the pandemic, and it was probably a year before we actually ate at a restaurant, and it was weird.
It was
very weird.
Yeah.
So. And of course, things are starting to seem kind of normal.
Yeah.
But there's still dangers out there. We just all need to be cognizant and responsible for the things we do and practice every day. And taking care of each other and people around us, and especially the people we love. We gotta be very careful and go out and have fun, enjoy life as much as you can, and just be responsible and do what you got to do.
Thanks, Chef.
That's words of wisdom from the outdoor chef himself.
I want to ask though, when you and the wife went out for the first time in over a year, where'd you go?
I'm trying to remember. I think we went to Car Restaurant, which is one of my favorite Chinese restaurants here in Guam.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
So we actually went there for lunch, and we had some dim sum, and we looked around, and it was kind of like, wow, this is weird.
Yeah.
And there was like 4 other tables in there, but it just didn't feel normal after that long of not eating out.
But that's also the one thing that you've really shown us as, members of the Micronesia Chefs Association. Even though, you guys don't see each other as competitors, you're always colleagues, and you guys endorse each other's businesses. You guys complement each other's, recipes and everything like that. I mean, you guys could be at each other's throats if you wanted to, but you realize that, it's all about community here too.
Oh no, absolutely, and there's the camaraderie between us chefs, man, is amazing, and
No doubt.
with and a lot of us are very close. We're very tight, so it's kind of hard. Like when we compete against each other, it's kind of like a unspoken word kind of deal where we go in, we smile at each other, we joke with each other, and then when it begins, we're serious and we're hardcore and we're it's time to whip some butt. And then when it's all over and the winners are announced, we go back to being friends again.
That's what it's all about.
Right on. Thank you,
Yeah.
Chef.
All right,
Be
guys,
safe.
thank you for
Yep,
having me.
Of course.
And again, come out and check us out. Guam Community College, they're awesome up there. Chef Paul Kerner, the whole GCC crew. It's going to be an amazing event. We have Dr. Judy Flores going to be talking about culture, and we have some folks from Department of Agriculture going to be talking about farming and the fisheries. And we also have a local archaeologist, Judy Amesbury, going to be talking about some of the artifacts and some of the traditional fishing practices. And we have a bunch of chefs that are going to be showing some local flavors and techniques. So if you got the time, come and check it out.
Right on. Thank you, Chef, again. Be safe. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you, guys. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Take care. Jesus Masi.
Hogamas. There you go. Chef Peter Duenas, 9:56. Quick break, and we'll come back and close out the show next right here on The Link. Good morning.
Our World War II survivors have endured more sacrifice, suffering, fear, hope, and perseverance than we can ever imagine. Their stories have been passed down from generation to generation.